We're going to break this down into 3 areas. We're going to talk about how to do story development for film with young people. We're going to talk about like the filming, right? Like what do we need to know about filming and getting great video footage? And then what do we need to know about editing? Start with what is in your own circle. Where do you see the potential for racial healing? Where do you see racial healing not occurring? Whatever is close and familiar to them is where they're going to be able to share the best, right? They're going to be able to give it's going to feel the most connective to the rest of us. So number one with is sharing and encouraging students to write what you know about. They don't need experts necessarily. You can go that route, traditional documentary, and interview experts in the field of restorative justice or Chicago nonprofits that work in that world. That is one route to go. When we're dealing with the 3 to 7 minute short and we want it to be powerful and we want it to have some universal themes, oftentimes it's actually the young people's voice that should be the expert, right? What they're experiencing. Their lived experiences and their perspectives matter. These 4 women that you see on this poster, they all voted to do a film on gun violence in 2016. And they started with all these ideas of like, oh, we should interview people that have been affected by gun violence. Meanwhile, each of them had lost a family member to gun violence. So instead, it ended up the cameras turning on the filmmakers and they were able to share their stories. We already know the theme. It's on racial healing, but they might need some help. I'm already seeing that with even high school and college students. Like, what do you mean by racial healing? How can you start to just prime their minds to think about ways they might discuss racial healing? So one way that I've done it in the past is everybody gets a slip of paper, they all pull one, and they will all represent a different type or genre of film. It could be, for us, it's all documentary genres, but I went ahead and threw in a narrative fiction here because it's open to narrative films as well for this contest. So it might be that they pull a prompt that says journal about an interracial relationship or friendship in your family or friend circle. That's going to get them thinking and just journaling about what that means and what potential challenges there have been, or maybe there haven't been, and it's just a beautiful representation of a future that we want to be a part of. A narrative fiction might be, think about an instance where you witnessed or experienced racism. Now, I want you to take that narrative and change it where that racism becomes interrupted, it gets challenged, it gets shifted with maybe someone using their voice, their privilege. Something happens to shift what that moment was. We're not going to repeat the past in this story. We're moving and heading to a new future. What would that story look like? An example, that's the third example I put that could be on a slip, is write about the Black Lives Matter movement. How do you think that has changed or not changed America? Have people been touched? Do you think that that's going to put us in a different path? And so that's just a way to begin a group conversation on something that might be challenging to originally bite your teeth into because it's such a huge, broad, big topic. Yeah, what brings peace? That's such a way, that could be one of the journal topics, right? That you work with young people. What brings peace? Where do you see peace? How do you see peace in society? And get their wheels turning on how that might be. That could be a really beautiful, for example, spoken word piece or narration, and then you find the visuals to go with that. It could be very inspiring. what we do with our young people, and I would suggest you do, is making sure that before they go off and start making a film, that they've really fleshed out that concept. So they need to identify, well, what's your story about? So for No Malice, racial healing. Okay, we're all on the same page. But in one sentence, this is so key. Can you write in one sentence, what's your primary message? 3 to 4 minutes is a sweet spot, not just for this contest and what they're able to do, but for social media, right? So in a realm of social media, if you want to get those films on racial healing watched from beginning to end, the 3 to 4 minute is going to be a better sweet spot. Help your young people develop those concepts out, develop their pitch, present it in front of the classroom. Maybe if you're, I suggest working in teams if you were going to make a film assignment like this contest part of your class. And even if they're all remote, it still works. We've done that before, where one person is in charge of writing it, another person is going to go and create some visuals, another person is going to be working on finding the music. So that can be done, but the key is that before you even start, you always have this guiding star, right? So go back to, because once you get into the thick of making something, oftentimes you get distracted so by some sort of really cool song or really cool visual, and you're like, "Ooh, we should go. Ooh, let's include this." But if it doesn't match the guiding star, then it gets mucked up. And so that has been one of the biggest challenges, where we've had to rein people in. We've had to kind of tug a war with them on making sure that the story stayed integral to the process. Filmmaking is collaborative. The beauty of it is the teamwork. So when you can break it down in 3 or 4 people together, it really works well, because then you can assign roles. You can have the person who has kind of the vision, the concept, they're the writer director. When you're out on the field, and when you're out, like, if you were in the gym of shooting, somebody boxing, you'd have so much noise and interference or wind or whatever it might be. So the best way we found to keep it simple, and lean into those challenges, right? We don't have the really expensive microphones that you can use necessarily, that block the wind, or the great lavaliers or the boom poles, right? Like, if you don't have those things, then lean into how you can control the sound in a way that you can get a really great product. Lighting is great, because lighting is just a matter of knowing how to use lighting. Lighting is free. The sun shines every day, and it's just a matter of using it and using it well. Collaborative processes, leading into your limitations, looking at them as, potential for greatness, and thinking about lighting and sound being definitively what is going to allow people to hear your message well and have it look great is really key. So what I've created for you guys, I've never done this before, it's for you, is this film production guide. So number one, very, very important, how to shoot well on a mobile device or on an iPad. I've got one video, makes it easy for you. It's 10 minutes long, and it's gonna include everything. Basically, you have your A roll. It's the footage of your person talking, right? It's the footage of the interview. It's the footage of the person reading the lines of the script. And then you need all sorts of other visuals added in, right? Like that, the great example was, well, it was all B-roll for Azali's piece, right? We see her brother, that's the B-roll. Or for Rise Up, we see them in their environment. We have B-roll of her dance studio, of her boxing. That is key to moving the story along, so we're not looking at the same thing. So if you want to know how to talk about B-roll, here's here's like the explanation, and then a great little video that breaks it all down and gives you ideas for how to shoot different types of B-roll.
I was supposed to do my first match that year he died, but I couldn't go to it. It didn't feel right without my brother.
If you need to get a little conversation, maybe someone is doing racial healing and they're talking about, maybe it's grandmother, mother, and me, and you want to record 3 people talking about the generational changes of racism in our country, and they need to have we need to get that sound. You can use a little directional mic. I'm going to try to, so you can see this here. It literally plugs right into the device. Or you can use one that has like a cord, and then you can place the microphone on the table close to the 3 people and literally record it into your mobile device. So that is, that's an option for sound. We need to think about how to shoot and frame with a mobile camera or even a regular camera. So shooting, framing, lighting, stabilizing shots, B-roll, sound options, that's it. I've learned that you got to make it fun. It can't feel like homework. And so if you're putting them on an editing program that's really professional, like Adobe, like Premiere, or even Final Cut can be overwhelming for some. So if your youth are not, or your students are not really familiar, put them on a program that is going to be really intuitive and easy for them to use. So for us, we used iMovie because we had iPads. It all worked really in sync, right? Like they could film on their iPad. iMovie knows exactly where to grab that footage, and it creates a very smooth workflow process. When we needed to work on teams, they would just put that footage on a Google Drive. We had the Google Drive app on iMovie or on our iPads, and then they could just collaborate and drop that on whoever was working on the project. Post-production guide. And so we've got a number of video editors that work with Windows, and then we have a program that works with Chromebooks. So unfortunately, I didn't see anything that was fully free that was amazing, which why would it be, right? However, I did see that some of these programs, for example, for Chromebooks, if we look at this option here, and we look at the pricing, so this is supposedly similar to iMovie. It's specific to the low kind of tech or parameters of a Chromebook, and you can get it for $4.99 a month. So it could be something where, and then I think there's even like a trial run. So it could be if, for example, you're doing this as a trial to see how it works and whether it's worth it for your students, is that potentially, you know, use a number, a few licenses to just try it out. So we have WeVideo. I think education is cheaper. I should be here. So like a teacher could use it for $89 a year. I mean, I know it's not ideal. But we also have here, if you look at this, Tech Radar has a list. So the top 3 best video editors, not those are the ones that are expensive and more technical, but we have some suggestions. Tech Radar, I would say, would have some good ideas for you. So Lightworks, the best free software that you can download today, works with all devices. There's Hit Film Express. This uses high system requirements, so probably not a good thing. You want to make sure that if you're doing this as a class project, you really want to make sure that everyone is using the same editing software, because that way they can troubleshoot together. That way you can help them find the answers to the problems that they have. That way you can like send them the YouTube videos that are going to help them do it well. There's Movie Maker Online. So my commitment to you is to really narrow this down to one that's going to be the best for PCs. It's totally possible to make a film that is a poem or a narration with all stock video, where they don't even need to go and film anything, right? And so, but they have to have the rights to that footage. Make sure that their folders are organized before they start editing. Make sure that they keep a list of any type of stock footage or music that they use, so you can refer back. It was a pleasure to share some of the knowledge I've gained through the years with you all.